Okie dokie. So active and passive voice. I'm sure you've probably heard this before. You may have received an assignment back where your instructor has circled something and said passive voice, and you're still not 100% sure what that means. So today, I want to distinguish between tense and voice. I think that's an important thing. Tell you about the difference between active and passive voice, and then encourage you to write some sentences in the active and in the passive voice so that you can start to understand the difference. Now, tense, right? That has to do with time. So we've got present, past, and future tense. Now, this is pretty easy, right? I go to the store now, every day, in the morning. Past, yesterday, I went to the store, or tomorrow, I will go to the store. Now, in the, I think it was the Principles of Style section, I included a PDF of all the different verb tenses. And this is something that is important for you to keep in mind, because that perfect tense tends to show up when we use the passive voice. So that's something that might be useful for you to keep in mind, either that perfect or that third participle form of the verb. So if you've got things like been, right? The cake had been eaten by the monster instead of the monster ate the cake, right? That's where we get into this passive voice. So I encourage you to review this. But moving back to the slides here. So voice. Active voice happens when Jackie Chan kicks the guy in the head, okay? Passive voice happens when the guy's head was kicked by Jackie Chan. So the difference is that either the actor, the subject, does the thing, or the thing has an action received upon it by the subject. And right away in my explanation, you can see that the active voice is faster, it's more concise, it's less wordy, and it's a lot more clear, right? So always strive for the active voice. Now, sometimes if the object really is the most significant part of your sentence, then maybe the passive voice works well. But passive voice gets us into trouble because we end up using lots of ing forms of verbs. We end up using lots of beens, right? B-E-E-N. Those kinds of things make sentences wordier, right? And you can see just from this example, either Jasmine drove the car or the car was driven by Jasmine, right? Active voice is better. For most cases, active voice is better. So best way that you can learn about this is to practice. So I've got a handout on Blackboard that gives more information about the active and passive voice. I have a link to a quiz about active and passive voice. And the most fun, I think, is I would like you to write a sentence in the active and then rewrite it in the passive and put that up on the discussion board and go ahead and be as goofy and silly as you like. So that's pretty much active and passive voice. Again, it's, simple to explain, sometimes difficult to wrap your head around, but if you do a lot of writing and think mindfully about what is the subject and what is it doing, you will catch them. All righty. So now that we have all of this stuff about subject-verb agreement and modifier and active and passive voice, there is now a quiz that has all of that stuff on it. You are ready to take that quiz. When you are finished, you can move on to the material on punctuation. I don't have a lecture for it, but I do have some videos that I'd like you to watch and some stuff I'd like you to read. And then there is a self-directed Kahoot. After that, there's one more video lecture on paragraphs, and you are a writing expert. Way to hang in there.